Hi everyone, I am Ray from Kunshan University and welcome to my final presentation session for macroeconomics, and my title for presentation is Decentralize, the Aggregate, and Satisfy Unsatisfied Need. So this is more information about me. Dedication and acknowledgement, I would like to express my special thanks to course instructor Lu Yaozhang. And this is a learning map made by Lucy Chart, briefly illustrating what we have covered and learned throughout the 7-week session. This is the table of contents. Okay, so for the first part, we are talking about macroeconomic briefings. Unlike microeconomic, which studies individual and corporation decisions and a single good market, macroeconomic targets on the aggregate level, such as aggregate demand and supply, labor market, and price level, etc. And we use policy to fix problems settled in macroeconomics. So as you can see, this page tells about what is macroeconomics. And this page is about macro data and where to find a accurate macro data source. In showing the most basic economic model, I use China's iPad market as an example. And the most important takeaway from this is to remember endogenous variable and exogenous variable are the most fundamental factors in one model. Why study macroeconomics? Showing the motivation. Okay, so we have talked about the first week introduction to macroeconomics. In the second week, we learned the first macroeconomic model, which is the solo growth model, and depicts the relationship between economic growth with several variables. We also simulated the model with the help of Python and Python programming and charting, and verify the result by searching macro data on websites such as the World Bank websites. Here, this page talks about the GDP per capita, which is the measure that we use for the economic growth in this model. And this page, these pages shows that how we use Python programming to simulate the model. Okay, so we have talked about the economic growth model. However, this model neglects the market factor. By incorporating market clearing condition, we have the economic fluctuation equilibrium model for the week 3 content. And in the week 4, in addition to the 4 markets that we have covered in the 3rd week, we also introduced another monetary market into it. Then we learned the rational expectation theory and discuss inflation and interest rate. So this is the summary for general results of the rational expectation theory. Generally, we change one of the factor and see what other variables in the model will change in correspondence with. And again, we are using Python programming skills to simulate the model. And here I also put with some model and equation and illustration and code, and also a scenario immersion to help readers understand what happened here. Okay, so even though this model have progressed a lot, however, there's one big limitation that we assume that money is neutral in week 4's model, in the sense that change of the money supply won't change the real terms of economic indicator, but money sometimes is non-neutral because of price misperception and price stickiness. So this brought us to price misperception model and a new kingship model, 2 major focuses of week 5. And by the end of week 5, we have successfully and already covered the basic concepts and most of the important theory that we should learn in macroeconomics. To better help us understand and bridge the gap between theory and real practice, Professor Lu Yao elaborately create 1 field trip and 2 guest lecture in the last 2 weeks to help us get the idea of the cryptocurrency, stablecoin, and decentralized monetary policy, which are all the newest tendency and cutting edge application of fintech in the real industry. So this part, we are talking about the field trip to liquidity, the company information. Liquidity is a decentralized borrowing protocol, and the CEO information Mr. Robert gave us a very wonderful lecture. And also this page is about introduction to stablecoin, showing my understanding about stablecoin and why liquidity is a stablecoin. In this page, I compare stablecoin versus monetary policy, showing their similarity and differences. Business model of liquidity and reflections. Okay, in terms of the future perspective, I summarize what I get from Professor Yuling's talk on the decentralized monetary policy. So as you can see from the left diagram, which is the development path of monetary policy from conventional monetary policy to unconventional and a decentralized monetary policy. And on the right chart, I have included all stages and their features in this chart from two perspectives. One is how does this kind of monetary policy satisfy unsatisfied need? And the other is problems to be solved. Each stage is putting forward to the next stage because they have a internal limitation. For example, conventional monetary policy is ineffective in liquidity trap, so we come up with unconventional monetary policy. However, unconventional one is also have some limitations listed here. So we come up with decentralized monetary policy and new monetary products. However, there's also a limitation for the newest decentralized monetary policy, such as security problem and user friendliness. Therefore, because the limitation, I have come up with my research question because I think the component breakdown cannot be like solved in a short time until a technological advantagement is imposed. So I want to deal with the user adoption problem. So my research question is that what effect does economic education or financial education have on people's investment decisions and outcomes? And I use this planned methodology, like center around comparative experiment based in VB lab and a behavioral experiment to conduct an interdisciplinary study. Briefly talking, I just want to compare the investment decisions and results of the targeted group of people before and after the round of economic education, and to see if there is a promotive, effective, or negative effect, or just no effect. If there is a promotive effect, economic education can improve people's investment decisions and reduce the entry barrier. That means I can satisfy people's unsatisfied need by educating the market participant and help more people make rational and efficient investment decisions in the even more complicated decentralized monetary market. What's the intellectual merits of this design? First, I follow the logic of satisfy unsatisfied need. And second, this interdisciplinary study centered on the behavioral experiment is very innovative and inspiring. Even though I get a negative effect throughout the experiment, this can also be a very valuable experience mirrored by the future researchers. However, the major limitation for my research idea is the sampling bias, because it's very hard to conduct a pure RCT, which means research results might be only applicable to one or several specific groups instead of the all. So in this page, you can see all the references that you want to refer to if you are interested in and you want to learn more. Epilogue. For the skills improvement, I have programming language, economic model and theories, and data collection and chart making as hard skills that I gained from this class, and also soft skills such as problem solving and critical thinking, communication and teamwork, etc. By reflecting on the course, here four are the main takeaways, and these are more specific gains from the course, and you can look into them. Okay, should you have any questions, please feel free to contact with me by the email address or phone number. And due to the time limit, I didn't go through any details in my slides. So if you have interested to learn more, feel free to click this link to see the complete version of my slides. Thank you.